So I have the wonderful Tim Charles with me from the Oblivscaris. How are you doing?
Very good. Happy to be back here in London.
Sunny London.
Yes. Yeah. It's raining and miserable.
In terms of prog and things like that, I feel that there's an element of crossover which is happening. Like a lot of bands are bringing different genres together. Where do you think prog is going?
Oh, I mean, wherever people's imaginations take it, really. I mean, like, that's the whole essence of being a progressive band. It's not about trying to be anything in particular. It's just trying to be yourselves and just making sure that, when you're being yourself, it comes out in a unique way. One of the exciting things at the moment is that there are a lot of bands that I think have been inspired to try different things instead of just everyone being a thrash metal band or everyone being a death metal band. And I think, there's been a few bands that have really led the way with that. I mean, obviously, Dream Theater was like kind of a pioneer with like progressive metal, and showing, I guess, that different approach to kind of heavy music. But then for me, it was really when you had a band like Opeth break through, and inspire a lot of bands like ourselves, like the first really progressive but death metal or something like that, also extreme thing I heard was Opeth's Blackwater Park. And that album's still one of my favorite albums of all time. And just the fact that you could be really metal, like not like actually have death metal vocals or black metal vocals, but also be progressive, was definitely an eye-opener. And I mean, it was the same thing when Enslaved came out with that Issa album, and I was like, this is like Pink Floyd mixed with black metal. I was like, and so those sort of things came out about the time when Oblivscaris was starting and were an inspiration to us. I don't think we sound anything like either of those bands, but it's that mentality of just trying to be yourself and going, okay, we don't have to just be one thing. We can be extreme in the way that we want to be and intense in that way, and then we can go off and do whatever the else we want. So, I mean, I think that the exciting thing at the moment is that a lot of people feel like they're allowed to write whatever they want, and that people are going to be accepting of that if it's good.
So, in terms of Earn, did you have something that you wanted to kind of change on the new record, or was there anything like you wanted to tighten up any dynamics or anything like that?
I mean, songwriting wise, not really. I mean, we were really happy with the songwriting on Portal of Eye. We loved those songs, and then we just obviously just felt like we were just adapting and changing and learning new things and getting better. But at the same time, it wasn't like it was something completely different, even though Citadel was a bit different. And then the same with Earn again. Obviously the album's a bit different with the writing, but it's not that different. And we really didn't think too much about the writing. We just, the main focus on that is just making sure that we think that it's fantastic and that we love it. Okay. We deliberately try to ignore what anyone else is going to think. We don't talk about what fans might want or my press might want. We like deliberately, so no, who gives a fuck what they think? Let's just, when we did Portal of Eye, we just did that for us. And then people liked it. So with Citadel, I was like, okay, well, let's do that again. And then it was a bit different, but people liked it. Probably the one thing that would changed a little bit that was a conscious thing was just the production on the record. So, we made a conscious decision to go with Mark Lewis to mix and master the record. And we think as a result, like it's a very different sounding album. Like the production, like the guitar tone's completely different. The drum sounds different. The way my vocals are produced are different. All of these things that maybe not all fans would even realize. They might just go, I like it, or I don't like it. But if you really zero in on those things, they're all quite, very different really to Citadel. Like the tones that we were choosing on these different instruments and the way it was mixed and everything like that. And we wanted it to be a little bit closer to the way we sound live. Okay. So a little bit less polish, a little bit less clear, but at the same time, it's still a pretty clear mix. And so it was just fantastic, working with Mark Lewis on that. We loved, some of the other albums that he had done. He's worked with a lot of great bands, like Black Dahlia Murder or Devil Driver or Cannibal Corpse, or the new Fallujah album was one that he had done that we loved, and we thought, well, that was maybe something comparable to what we were after, in the fact that it was a lot of melody, but also very heavy.
Yeah.
And we didn't feel like our first two albums sounded that heavy. And then they'd come to a show and they'd be like, "Oh wow, I didn't realize you guys were
heavy."
this intense live." But you know, we are. And so we just wanted to basically make it a bit more like the live sound on the album. And we think we achieved that. You know, it was definitely a production that we were much happier with, and one we feel is more reflective of how we want the band to sound and come across on record.
Okay. I think your vocals have improved like even more, especially like was there any sort of any techniques that you were trying out vocally, or
practice? Like when I recorded Portal of I was a violinist that sang a bit. I mean, I'd been singing for a long time in the band, like quite a few years, but I'd never taken it that seriously. And then when Portal of I came out and people were reviewing and commenting positively or negatively on my voice, it's like, oh, maybe I should like get good. And so I was trying to do that, you know. And so Citadel was definitely better, and I was happier with that. But I think the difference, you know, after Citadel came out, you know, we went and did a couple hundred shows all around the world. I was singing and touring, you know, professionally with the band, and that was a real focus of my life. So it just gave me so much more time to practice being on stage and singing, and also, you know, just practicing and focusing on my craft, because we would tour and I would see what was good or bad and what parts I was finding difficult on show number 23 on a tour, and stuff like that. And, you know, or my voice is getting tired on these things. And, you know, so I mean, I was working with a really great, you know, vocal teacher back home in Melbourne, Australia, called Alana Siverson, and you know, she, you know, I basically would go back in between tours, just have like one or two lessons with her, and go, okay, well, on tour, you know, this was happening, and, you know, when I was sick, I was struggling to hit these notes, or, you know, what are some different things, and I was basically just working on my technique and different things I was doing to try and improve. So, okay, well, I've been doing like, you know, almost 30 years playing the violin, and, you know, that's, and a lot of years of intense focus and intense practice, and I hadn't really done that as much with my voice. And so it was really just making that decision to really, let's try and be a professional singer, not a violinist who sings a bit on the side. I look up to singers and musicians in general who keep bettering themselves. So, you know, one of my favorite singers is Bjorn Strid from Soilwork, not because he's the greatest singer in the world, although I do think he's fantastic, but if you listen to every Soilwork album through, especially the first 5 records or so of them, every album sounds different vocally.
Yeah, you're right.
And, you know, he starts, you know, singing a little bit clean vocals on A Predator's Portrait. It's okay, but it's very simple. And then all of a sudden on the next album, it's clearly better. And on the next album, it's clearly better again. And he just kept getting better. Do you know what I mean? And it's good that, you know, you think that it's better, because that's the idea. And then hopefully when we do the next album, you know, it'll be the same.
I've played to quite a lot of people who are like really non-metalheads, and they've all really, really enjoyed it. And I was just wondering, what do you think it is that makes them not only enjoy it, but they also said it wasn't actually that heavy?
I think it's just getting something to drag people in, and, you know, it might just be a melody in the clean vocals, or the violin, or an acoustic guitar section, or something that's that they can relate to or compare to what they already like.
Okay.
And then expand and push them into somewhere where maybe they're less comfortable. Okay. You know, I remember, you know, shortly after the mix was done, kind of noticing that Zen's vocals actually sound a little bit less abrasive on Earn than they do on Citadel, and that's not because of his difference. It's just the way it's EQ'd is a little bit different, and makes it slightly easier to listen to. That wasn't like a conscious thing. That was something like Mark Lewis was like, "Hey, what do you think of this?" And we were like, that sounds fucking great. So I do think the new record, even though I think it's heavier, I actually think it's easier to listen to, as far as, you know, if someone's maybe not into extreme metal. We just, you know, feel fortunate that anyone likes us in the first place. So, you know, it's pretty cool that, you know, we're getting people who maybe not into metal into the band, and then hopefully they then get into some other metal bands after that.
I've recently just announced your new bassist.
Yes. Yeah, so, you know, we got Martino Gautoni on board in October for our US tour. And, you know, we pretty much told him, you know, we'll get you on this tour, and then, you know, see how you go. After about the first rehearsal in San Francisco, you know, I was saying to one of the guys, like, holy shit, I think like I made more mistakes than he did. He's never played with us before. And we didn't want to rush it because it's like a family thing as far as like, make sure everyone just fits together perfectly. But, he's just been amazing. And it's been such a pleasure to just slot straight into the band.
And is released. What's coming next?
Well, I guess we've got another 28 shows on this tour, something like that, all across Europe, which is fantastic. This is... we've done some headline shows in the UK before, but we've never done an extensive European headline tour, which is really exciting. And it's great to just get the opportunity, I guess, to show people our full like 90-minute show, and they get to hear like a whole like 7 songs, and and then pretty much as soon as this tour finishes, it'll be like, okay, when can we come back to Europe? Obviously we'll definitely make sure we come back again on this album cycle, doing something. I don't know what it is, festivals or a support tour or headline tour, but we'll be back doing something. And after all that, like after we've kind of done the whole world maybe twice, then we'll just go do another album. So the idea, I think we have about 3 or 4 months at home in the middle of this year, so we probably start writing the new record then. See if we can make a bit of progress on that, and see, we've got a few ideas already, and see how it all comes out, and definitely excited for the future. I mean, just there's so many ideas floating around in the band that, I feel like it's still quite a few albums before we have to worry about challenge ourselves to not run out of ideas, which is exciting.
That's really cool. Awesome, man. Thank you so much for having a chat.
My pleasure.
Thanks dude.